Alright, we just finished creating our we just started creating our dot particle tag. We checked self-illuminated and we added the bitmap that we had created. So now in the physics field, we're going to put effects backslash point physics backslash cold smoke cloud. Alright, for lifetime or lifespan, we're going to put in 0.075 in both fields. And then the initial sequence count we're going to set to 2. And the orientation we're going to set to, let's see, that's going to be parallel to direction. We're going to check sort bias and change the frame buffer blend function from alpha blend to add. Alright, now we're going to close this, save it to weapons, UMP45. We're going to call it laser.particle. Now we're going to create a new effect. Add a location. Location is going to be laser. That's the marker, or the marker that we created when we were modifying our model. We're going to add an event. Then we're going to scroll down here and add a particle. We're going to set this one to only in first person. Set the location to laser. The relative offset is going to be 0.085. And the particle type is going to be the particle that we just created, which is UMP45 laser. Then we're going to check stay attached to marker and interpolate tint as HSV. We're going to set the count to 1 and 1, and we're going to set the radius to 0.1 and 0.1. The tint lower bound you can set to 0.075, upper bound 0.0875. Let's just set both of these to white. Alright, and now we're going to close this, save it to weapons, UMP45 and laser.effect. Now we're going to open up our .weapon folder. Our .weapon file, rather. UMP45.weapon. We're going to add an attachment here. And let's see, it's going to be the effect that we just created. The marker is going to be laser. We're going to set the primary scale to A out, and we're going to create a function here. We're going to check always active. We're going to set the usage to laser. This doesn't really mean anything, it's just a label for here. Alright, and that should be it for the visuals of the laser at the weapon. But since we intend to use this instead of our reticle, we're going to need to create a projectile. Now, well, actually we can't do that just yet, hang on. So first we're going to go back to our data, weapons, UMP45 bitmaps. We're going to move the bitmap that we just compiled into the backups. And we're going to open up GIMP and create a new one. I'm going to set this to 64 by 64. I'm going to again paint it with a 255 blue. And then 1 pixel from the top again. I'm going to create a square box about, I'm going to make it 32 by 32. I'm going to paint it black. Inside there I'm going to grab a 255 red color and my spray brush. I'm going to just paint a red dot right in the middle of it. Alright, I'm going to save this as see, navigate back to my root directory. Let's save this as laser_dot.tif. Now I'm going to create a .bitmap file, set it to sprites, 32-bit color, default. I'm going to give it a sprite budget of 64 by 64 and 1. And I'm going to save this as weapons UMP45 bitmaps laser_dot. Now we're going to compile the bitmap that we just created, and that should have compiled just fine here. Let me just double check it. Alright, that works. Now let's see. I'm going to, yeah, I didn't need to close that. Let's see. Now we need to create a decal. The radius is going to be 0.015 to 0.02. Intensity is going to be 1 and 1. The color bounds we're going to set to just white. Let's see, the lifetime we're going to set to 0.01. And the decay time is going to be 0.01 as well. Alright, the bitmap is the bitmap that we just created. Laser dot. The frame buffer function needs to be add, and the maximum sprite extent is going to be 16 pixels. Alright, now we're going to close this and save it. Go to weapons, UMP45, and we're going to save this as laser_dot.decal. Okay, now we need to create a new effect. We're going to add a location, and we're going to call this location negative incident. Now we're going to add an event, and we're going to add a part. Let's set the location to negative incident, set the type to decal, and we're going to put in the file path to that decal that we just created. The velocity bounds need to be 0.1 to 0.1. Now we can save this as weapons UMP45 laser_dot.effect. Now we're going to create a new projectile. Let's see, in this projectile we need to set the maximum range to 200 units. I set the air gravity scale to 1, the water gravity scale to 1, the initial velocity and final velocity to 1000. And then we're going to create a single material response, and we're going to add the effect that we just created, weapons UMP45 laser dot. I'm going to save this to weapons UMP45, and I'm just going to call it laser dot projectile. Alright, now we're going to open up our effect file that we created earlier, just the laser.effect. This is where we have our laser effects down there. We're going to add a part to this. We're going to set it to, we're going to set the location to laser. We're going to set the type to particle. Where is it? No, sorry, projectile, not particle. There we go. And then we're going to give it the file path to the projectile that we just created. I'm going to set the velocity bounds to 1000 by 1000. And there's one thing I forgot to do earlier. Down here where we created our particle, we need to duplicate it and set the duplicate to only in third person. And then we're going to X out of this and save it. That should be all you need to do. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and remove my existing reticle. Because we're going to be using the laser pointer instead. I'm just going to delete that. Save. And now I'm going to go ahead and compile my test map. And I'll open up another video recorder and show you what it looks like in game. Alright, I missed one minor thing here. We need to go back into Cornman, open up weapons, UMP 45, and we're going to open up our decal. And let's see. Here in lifetime, I set this to 0.01 earlier. It needs to be set to 0.1. Just go ahead and change that, then save it. And now I'll compile that and let's show you what it looks like in game. As you can see, my laser pointer is working. It's on the rifle and it is projecting a dot on the wall over there. The dot gets larger as we get closer and fades off into the distance as we get further away. You can see it also right here in third person. It's not quite as exactly on the dot as our reticle was, but it's far more realistic and it still serves pretty well, especially with the accuracy of this weapon.